This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.
President Bola Tinubu has issued a new executive order which aims to lower project costs, attract investment, and enhance revenues in the oil and gas sector. The executive order, which was gazetted on Friday, the 30th of May, outlines incentives for operators in the sector and also lists regulatory objectives for the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission. How do these new regulations affect the sector, and what does it mean for Nigeria's evolving oil sector? Joining the conversation this morning is Ayodele Oni, an oil and gas expert. Good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us on the conversation.
Thank you very much for having me.
Our pleasure. Mr. Oni, what is your reaction to this new gazetting by the president?
Okay, so it's a good idea. What I have seen in the oil and gas sector is quite interesting. The decisions taken, the rate at which the president intervenes, particularly through the special advisor, to just ensure that there's more risk capital coming into the country. It gets more competitive. I'm sure you are aware, Saudi Arabia and I think, is it Iraq, have just discovered new substantial oil finds. So it becomes more competitive. You hear Guyana, you hear some of our Mozambique, you hear Angola, a number of these countries discovering new oil. So you have to be competitive. From a cost perspective, ours is one of the highest costs of production in Nigeria. So what that order seeks to do is to incentivize cost efficiency and allows you to get benefits. Of course, there's a cap. There's a 20% cap, such that your ROI will be greater. You make more money. There's a net off to your taxes, and that works with a few other things the president had done before then, where they were trying to reduce contract cycle. If you remember, I think it was last year when there was another order to reduce that cycle, because one, that long cycle means that you're spending more. It leads to more corruption, particularly when you're dealing with government agencies. So it's not just this presidential order. It's a combination or a portfolio of a number of them coming together to ensure that you can attract more investment in the sector as oil and gas investing becomes more competitive with discovering oil. And if yours is more expensive, it means that when oil prices drop, like they have now, margins drop substantially. So if costs can go down, the margins can go up. That's what the country, the government needs to do. And if you can be efficient, you also get a
tax credit.
The investment tax credit or some set. Yes, a tax credit.
A look at the executive order does try to cap the credit as well. It says that notwithstanding the incentives.
20%.
Yes, exactly. 20% of the licensee's tax liability for the year. Speak to us on how operators in the sector are reacting to this new executive order.
Oh, yeah, everyone is excited. But remember that the cookie crumbles when you do not implement. Our problem, to be honest, hasn't been quality of laws or regulations, although those have improved, particularly upstream. It's been implementation. And I'll give you an example. There's something called the import duty exemption certificate when you import goods. Very recently, the minister just suddenly changed the rules that for the power sector, you don't get incentives more than 5%. Before, you could get as much as 20% on your import duty exemption. That's the problem we have in this country. We must ensure that there is certainty, there is clarity, and I think that with respect to the power sector, right? You must ensure certainty, clarity, and you must ensure that there's consistency. You don't make an application under an assumption of the law, and then midway, the government changes that law. That's where I have a problem, particularly as a practitioner who advises on projects and transactions. And interestingly, some of the regulations issued the last 1 year, I did play a role in drafting and some of them working with the commission. So I understand where the commission is there, working with the president implement it.
Can you speak to us about? So I'm looking at the gazetted order, and it says that the NUPRC, through the approval of the minister, will issue implementation guidelines within 30 days effective of the order. Interestingly, the order came into effect on the 30th of April, meaning that now we should have these implementation guidelines. We're a few hours from opening day for the workday today. Can you speak to us on what to expect from these guidelines?
Okay, what it is that, when you have policies, generally policies by themselves are not justiciable. Can't go to court that this is a government policy. You need a regulation or you need a statutory instrument. By law, statutory instruments are the vehicles for implementing policies. So the idea is, and if you want to go granular, the president can go granular. The president is not an operator. The minister is not an operator, so to speak, or a regulator. So if you want to go granular and get specific, what the president will do is to provide general policy guidance and guidance, generally speaking. But in terms of the devil being in the detail, or in terms of the details themselves, it will be the upstream commission as the regulator of the oil and gas industry that would issue those regulations that be in alignment with the president's general guidance around how he wants things to work. Recall that the president is Minister of Petroleum, and the other ministers are state ministers or junior ministers. So he calls the shots. And I think he does a lot of that through his special advisor on energy, who must advise him.
Mr. Oni,
so we expect that it does provide more granular information.
Mr. Oni, thank you very much for your time and expertise on this conversation. Ayodele Oni is an oil and gas expert who joined us this morning to speak on the president's issuance of new executive orders which are aimed at lowering costs, attracting investment and enhancing revenues in the oil and gas sector.
This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.